Is Quant being focused on the global trade and finance market unreal? Well, in a literal sense, it's real, but it's kind of unreal in a sense where it's a figure of speech to express excitement. In which case, I think it is pretty exciting because keep in mind, Quant recently posted about one of their new products, which is called Quant Flow. And through that, they're actually focused on the global trade and finance market. I'll explain why I think this matters, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I am not telling anyone to do anything, this is just purely my opinion and my perspective. But people oftentimes like to tell me that, okay, Quant, it may have Quant Flow, but how can it really be focused on the global trade and finance market? They say that is dominated by Ripple and Stellar, which is true, but why can't Quant compete? Why not? Did you know that Quant has an aspect of ISO 20022? So does Stellar and Ripple. Quant has the actual fundamentals, in my opinion. And if we take a look at Quant Flow, we will see that, for instance, why does this even matter? Well, it's because its aim, or should I say its goal, right, is to add programmability to, let's say, in the case of banking operations. And Quant Flow is this, basically platform that's built on Quant's overledger technology. But yeah, besides that point, this is pretty impressive stuff right here. Now, again, people like to say that Quant doesn't have the capacity, doesn't have the fundamentals to compete with some of the other bigger players out there, but I tend to disagree with that because Quant has the actual fundamentals. And I think if, let's say, Quant Flow actually has decent adoption, if, let's say, the adoption is really good moving forward, it could only help Quant, right? I don't think it's a waste of resources. Sometimes people like to tell me, oh, why doesn't Quant hire Justin Bieber instead? Doesn't really make sense. Because if we take a look at Quant Flow, it's a better use of resources, in my opinion, as opposed to hiring a celebrity, an athlete, or a musician to kind of talk about Quant, which kind of doesn't really help it at all, fundamentally. So this type of stuff right here really does matter, in my opinion. So yeah, it may not be the most exciting thing out there, but sometimes we have to consider excitement doesn't always win. Sometimes if a project is really trendy, it's really cool, it could do really amazing if the market is doing really good. But because sometimes it's not that sustainable just to go off of hype and attention alone, what happens is that usually when the market goes down, these projects, they close up shop because they don't have a sustainable business model, in a sense where they have no good products, or they don't even launch any products to begin with. And if they don't have any revenue, they have nothing coming in, they're going to close up shop if things are not looking the best, if the market is down. So that's why I think that when it comes to Quant, launching products like, for instance, Quant Flow and stuff like that, that's really just going to help it moving forward and just give it a lot more longevity, in my opinion. So this is not a bad thing. Oftentimes you like to say, oh, it's such a waste of resources, but not really, right? They're thinking more so about years down the line. Quant, keep in mind, has an aspect of ISO 20022. That's no joke. Now, people may be wondering, okay, what is that? Because oftentimes people like to say that, but they don't really explain what it is. So I'll kind of explain it to the best of my capabilities in the most simple way I can. So ISO 20022, that is currently being used by many financial institutions from all around the world for something called inter-organizational data exchange. The thing is this. If, let's say, a project has an aspect of, again, ISO 20022, that really does matter, in my opinion. So when Quant has an aspect of that, which a lot of people sometimes don't really think it has, but it allegedly does, that's just a big thing, in my opinion, and it kind of opens the doors, because we do know that Quant, it's focused on interoperability, right? It's focused, to a certain extent, I would arguably say, when it comes to the global trade and finance space, through Quant Flow. And I think that Quant arguably could also be a place for AI. Why not? Take a look at, for instance, the Overledger OS. What that does is that it allows individuals to build applications on top of multiple blockchains instead of just one. This is really fantastic because traditionally when it comes to this space, if, let's say, an AI developer wants to build something, they're oftentimes just stuck building on only one blockchain. It's very limiting. But through the Overledger OS, they don't have to be limited anymore. They can build on top of multiple blockchains instead of just one. Imagine if I made like a application. Let's say it's really focused on AI. But through the Overledger OS, it's something that takes advantage of the speed of the Stellar blockchain, but also at the same time taking the advantage of the security of the Bitcoin blockchain. Wow, that's like a total game changer right there, right? And the Overledger OS, it's just so revolutionary. And keep in mind, the Quant network, it's made up of the Overledger OS and the Overledger network. In case someone may be wondering what is the Overledger network, it is made up of the Overledger OS users. So again, it all just kind of makes sense in my opinion. At least the way I take a look at it. So yeah, I mean, Quant being at around $65, basically, people like to say, this is really lame. And okay, yeah, at first glance, it does seem really lame because Quant really hasn't done much, but at the same time, if we do ever see a hypothetical altcoin season, and let's say the narrative when it comes to AI is there, let's say a lot of developers start entering back in again, if let's say the global trade and finance space, let's say that niche starts gaining attention again, and let's say also, in the case of interoperability, let's say people start caring about that, Quant is right there. Quant, the thing is, it's not a one-trick pony. It has multiple pathways, right? It's focused on interoperability. If that doesn't really take off, they have, arguably, I think, this environment where AI developers could care about the Overledger OS, right? So that's another narrative, AI, arguably, I would say. The third narrative, I would say, is the global trade and finance space through Quant Flow. Again, one of their products, one of their newer products, I should say. So again, global trade and finance is there, AI is there, and also in the case of interoperability. So Quant has multiple pathways. If option A doesn't work out, there's option B. If option B doesn't really do well, there's option C. There's multiple pathways, right? It's like a multiple choice exam. It's like the SATs, you know what I mean? Or the ACT, I should say. In which case, I got 34 on my ACT. Not that it really matters anymore. And yeah, sure, Quant may be over 2 times lower than December of 2024, but kind of my rebuttal is, I don't really mind the dip. That's the thing. I mean, I think the dip is my friend. I don't find it to be like a negative thing because I actually prefer low prices for the purpose of dollar cost averaging. So it's not such a big deal, at least for me. Now, people like to tell me that, when it comes to Quant, it's looking really bad. Well, really? The amount of holders is actually around 165,000. That's really impressive, keep in mind. For a time like right now, for Quant being below $70 and still seeing around 165,000 holders, the magnitude of that is really impressive. Not to mention, Quant is ranked 63rd in the world. I think sometimes people treat this like a project that's ranked like 630th. No, it's ranked 63rd in the world in terms of market cap within this space. So people like to say, Quant is cooked. So does that mean projects that are ranked 64th and below are all cooked? I mean, maybe some of them are cooked, but it's kind of like, how is a project that's ranked top 100 suddenly cooked? I just don't get it. But yeah, besides that point, did you know that even though this doesn't really matter too much, but I like to mention this because every time I don't, people like to call me out on it, so I'll just mention it nonetheless. Bitcoin's maximum supply is literally 21 million. We know that. But when it comes to Quant, the maximum supply is around 14.8 million. Now, people like to say, but yeah, so what? They say that Bitcoin, even though the maximum supply is 21 million, they often like to clarify that many millions of Bitcoin are lost. So in theory, their argument is that, sure, the maximum supply may be 21 million, but there may not be that much that are accessible, if that kind of makes sense. I kind of agree to that to a certain extent, and let me showcase why, even still despite that, Quant seems to have a lower maximum supply, because I see some places out there, they say that around 3 to 4 million Bitcoin is lost forever. Arguably, they say that. Now, some say 2.5 million, some say 3 million, some say 3.5 million, some say 4 million, but let's just say for the purpose of this example, let's just assume 4 million. So that's like the worst case scenario, but of course that would be the best case scenario for Bitcoin because the less of a supply it has, the more rare it becomes, right? So let's say we minus 4 million from 21 million. What is that? That's 17 million. That's still over 2 million more than the maximum supply when it comes to Quant. I'm not joking. Just take a look at it. Quant's maximum supply is around 14.8 million. So even 17 million is over 2 million more than that. That's just some food for thought. So sometimes people don't really consider the supply when it comes to Quant. Solana does not have a maximum supply. Its maximum supply is literally infinity. So is Dogecoin, by the way. Dogecoin's maximum supply is infinity. Not that it really matters too much in the grand scheme of things because they've done well even despite that, and they have measures to kind of mitigate the inflation. But at the same time, Quant has a set maximum supply, and it's way lower than Bitcoin's maximum supply. That's just my perspective, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Willie the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.